Good morning. We'll call the meeting to order. We respectfully acknowledge that the Township of Algonquin Highlands is located on Treaty 20 Mishi-Saugig territory and in the traditional territory of the Mishi-Saugig and Chippewa Nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaties First Nations. We also acknowledge a historical shared presence of other Indigenous nations throughout the area, and we recognize these original inhabitants as the stewards of its lands and waters since time immemorial. Could I have a mover and a seconder to adopt the agenda, please? Councillor Short-Reed, Deputy Mayor Dayu.
Moved by Councillor Short-Reed, seconded by Deputy Mayor Dayu. Be it resolved, September 19th, 2024, agenda be approved as circulated.
All in favor? That's carried. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof today? Hearing none. Could I have a mover and a seconder to adopt the minutes of September the 5th? Councillors Richards and Short-Reed.
Moved by Councillor Richards, seconded by Councillor Short-Reed. Be it resolved, the September 5th, 2024 regular council meeting minutes be approved as circulated.
All in favor? That's carried. We have no public meetings today. And under delegations, we have Mr. Bishop to talk about the subdivision agreement. Good morning, Mr. Bishop.
Good morning. There, perfect, thank you. Technology. And sorry for my tardiness. It's 3 minutes away. It took me 17 because of the construction.
It's all right. You weren't alone.
Well, thank you for having me here today, Mayor Danielson and council, and I really do want to thank your staff with Sean, of course, and the rest of the staff for getting this on the agenda today. And I know Sean's away to try to get this agreement updated. And the main reason, obviously, as you probably know, the reason for the update of the agreement is because of the change in the location of the road. Actually, that's what it's all about. And along the way, we were able to catch a few little minor details within the body itself. We now know the name of the road. It's Hawk Valley Road. That's been placed in there. Your postal code's changed, little things like that in the body. But the majority of the changes are just simply in the schedules, and all they're doing is reflecting the fact that the road itself has moved and is now not only involving a different section of the location of township lands, it also affects another portion of lands that actually was passed by bylaw last meeting to be deeded back to the township so that we have access to the subdivision. So nothing else in the agreement's changed. It was signed by both parties back in 2022, and we're just looking to get this updated. And with the updated one with signatures, we do want to be on the market here within the next week to 10 days. So that's what we're heading for. And that's why I asked Sean if you'd have a look at it at least in advance. Whether it came today or not, it wasn't as critical, other than so we had a document that we could place in our package for putting it out on the market. So that's, we're hopeful to get it onto the market here in the next week and a half at the latest, and hopefully see some activity, and certainly see some activity in the spring with builds and so on. So that's where we're at. And again, thank you for your staff. Your staff's great to work with, always has been. Worked with staff here for years, and I have always enjoyed working in Algonquin Highlands when I did planning over the years.
Well, thanks for those kind comments. And it is really exciting to see the lots finally going onto the market, and hopefully there'll be lots of interest in them. Any questions for Mr. Bishop on the changes? Kate, I guess, could I have a mover and a seconder then to receive the delegation? Councillor Barry, Deputy Mayor Dayu.
Moved by Councillor Barry, seconded by Deputy Mayor Dayu. Be it resolved, council receives a delegation from Gary Bishop regarding amendments to the subdivision agreement for plan of subdivision 416-91001 for information.
All in favor? That's carried. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
So then under planning business, we have Sean's report on the subdivision agreement. And I think the bylaw will come under bylaw section. Any questions on Sean's report? Could I have a mover and a seconder then to receive it? Deputy Mayor Dayu, Councillor Short-Reed.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Dayou, seconded by Councillor Shortreed. Be it resolved, council receives planning report PL 8224 regarding amendments required for subdivision agreement for part of lot 17, concession 9 and 10, geographic township of Stanhope, Greg Bishop Surveying and Consulting Limited, and that council approves the amendments and directs a bylaw be brought forward, authorizing the mayor and clerk to sign said agreement.
All in favor? That's carried. No presentations, nothing under consent agenda. So next up is building and bylaw enforcement. Have a good rest of the day. Morning, Mr. Moore.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. Before you, if you will see the monthly activities report for the months of July and August. Really, the only highlights, as usual, are the 28,000 in permit fees and a construction value in excess of $8.5 million. It is down, though. The permits are down from previous year. But I'm starting to see a little bit of pickup right now, as a matter of fact, so.
Any questions for Mr. Moore on the building and bylaw enforcement monthly activities? Hearing none, could I have a mover and a seconder then to receive the reports? Deputy Mayor Dayou, Councillor Barry.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Dayou, seconded by Councillor Barry. Be it resolved, council receives building bylaw report BLDG 1724 regarding July and August monthly activities for information.
All in favor? That's carried. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next is Parks, Recreation and Trails. Morning, Mr. Card.
Good morning, Mayor and Council.
So first under Parks and Recreation is the committee update from June the 19th. Any highlights or comments from anyone on those sets of minutes? Hearing none, could I have a mover and a seconder then to receive the minutes of June the 19th? Deputy Mayor Dayou, Councillor Shortreed.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Dayou, seconded by Councillor Shortreed. Be it resolved, council receives the June 19th, 2024 Recreation Committee meeting minutes for information.
All in favor? That's carried. Next is the monthly activity report. Anything you'd like to highlight?
Yes, so through you, Mayor, this time of year, we're shifting seasons, of course, and what that means is all of our summer seasonal student staff are finished for the year. So we were very grateful to have them over the summer. It was a fantastic summer with much achieved. As we move into the fall season, we're moving towards starting to prepare for what shifts into a large focus on the fall colors. This weekend is our first weekend that we call a fall color weekend, which includes our advanced ticketed system in place with traffic controllers, and everything is in place and ready to go for that. So very much looking forward to another successful season with that. Something I will point out is I've added, and I've never had this before, and this is because it's a new functionality available in our Camus reporting system, is under the HHWT users. This is the Halliburton Highlands Water Trails users year to date. Council will for the first time see information on number of users in our water trails system last year compared to this year. So by the end of August had 24,626 users. Which I think is just incredible from what we've increased to over the years in my involvement with it. Elsewhere in parks, we've just closed our request for proposal for the swing set and pathway up at the Oxtongue Lake Community Center. So we're going through the review of that. In recreation, the Dorset Recreation Center, now that we're open, of course, I've had lots of opportunities to be there and talk to people, and the feedback has been outstanding. We get over the past month, hundreds of people coming in just to tour and just to see the facility. and lots of great feedback on it. We have a lot of new annual memberships on top of the ones that we had previously, which is fantastic to see. And from opening to the end of August, we had just under 1,300 users
Wow.
in the center, which is fantastic. Those are the highlights.
Well, they're terrific highlights. It's great to see that we're having that kind of turnout come to the center and enjoying it. Okay, any questions on the monthly report? Counselor Berry.
It's a bit of a segue into the grant application, but with some of these numbers, can that be used in applying for the grant for the air conditioning? With the amount of work we've put in and the uptick of users and that, like, I just wonder if some of that information can be captured. I know we're not in that discussion yet, but I just.
Go ahead.
It's my understanding with the grant application, and we will somehow roll it in together in the application, but we have to show that the air conditioning will increase the recreation use at the rec center. So, but I think we can.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome.
So could I have a mover and a seconder to receive the monthly activity report? Counselor Berry, Counselor Richards.
By Counselor Berry, second by Counselor Richards. Be it resolved, Council receives Parks, Recreation and Trails Report, PRT 2024, regarding August monthly activities for information.
All in favor? That's carried. So with that segue, we'll now move into the infrastructure fund grant.
Absolutely. So very exciting opportunity, Community Sport and Recreation Infrastructure Fund grant. This was announced back in April as something that was upcoming. However, the details on it weren't released just until the past few weeks, which is why we're able to consider it now. There's two streams to this funding. One's for repairing or upgrading, and one's for building new infrastructure. Municipalities are able to apply one application under each stream.
Yep.
And I've outlined the highlights of the criteria for each stream, but essentially the criteria and the goal is to improve existing facilities as well as increase access to sport. And it's all around sport and recreation opportunities and improving and increasing access to those opportunities across Ontario. So under the stream one, the repair and rehabilitation, there's between a minimum of 150,000 up to $1 million available. And under the new builds, there's up to 10 million available. For the repair and rehab application deadlines end of October. And for the new builds, they'll accept applications ongoing until all of the funding has been allocated. However, each one, the first needs to be completed within 24 months of getting your transfer payment agreement. And the new builds is March 31st of 2027 that it has to be completed. So there is a cost sharing in this. The province commits to providing up to 70%. For sure 50% if approved. The 70% is based on exceptional cases where there's an additional portion of the application required to explain why you feel as a municipality or whatever organization you may be that you would like the additional funding. So the CAO and the department heads met at our department head meeting most recently and discussed various options. And there's two presented to council today, one under each stream. The first one being for air conditioning, as well as what would include upgraded and efficient heating opportunities at the Dorset Recreation Centre. To outline that, as council's aware, the ventilation system that was put in met the needs that were required under the building code for COVID, which circulates outdoor air and fresh air into the building, essentially to meet the needs for new air circulation that would have kept the building open under certain circumstances in a situation like COVID or similar circumstances in the future. What we've realized in so doing that is you are drawing the outside air directly from outside into the building. So in the case of those timelines in the summertime when we had the 38-degree weather with the humidex, that's drawing that air right into the building, making it that temperature inside the building. So it certainly highlighted the need for air conditioning considerations, which this funding opportunity does say that HVAC is eligible, and under previous streams of similar funding, HVAC has been approved to other organizations. We're also looking at, I wasn't able to include it in this because everything was developing as we discussed this, the opportunity to see whether or not we can also include a digital sign out front as part of this application. So, and then I'll move right into the new builds portion, and what we're proposing there is a dedicated pickleball court. This is something that we're proposing as at the Stanhope Courts. There's various opportunities for locations throughout the township, and recognizing that we have multi-purpose courts down here at the moment and not an outdoor court in Dorset. I'll just touch on that briefly. We have looked at, and we know that there's future opportunity to develop the Dorset Lions Park location into potential multi-purpose court. So there's opportunity there, but down in Stanhope, our pickleball courts are painted on our multi-purpose court. It isn't a sport that existed when we developed the multi-purpose court, and we started out with one pickleball court on our multi-purpose court, and then we painted a second one, and then we painted a third one, and then we painted a fourth one, and this was based on the number of users. And right now, well, actually, I'll go back to the beginning. We started out with pickleball 1 day a week run by our committee volunteers, with demand from a local organization and club. And that has now turned into a volunteer-led partnership with the township, where users are playing pickleball every day of the week, typically from around 8 in the morning until noon, depending on how hot it gets in the daytime. And then the amount of requests we get from users on a daily basis at all locations for increased access to pickleball facilities is incredible. It continues to be the fastest growing sport in North America. And we would, if we were successful in this opportunity, be the only dedicated outdoor court in the county. The approximate value of that, I have been able to get quotations for a turnkey package on that, and we'd be between $250,000 and $300,000. Of course, looking at that 50% to 70% input from the province, we as the municipality would have to come up with the additional funding for each of these projects. If council approves one or each of these projects, what I'd do after this is we'd finalize all of our costing estimates. We'd dig right into the application process, and then we'd come back at the October 3rd meeting, because we'd need a resolution from council to support the cost input. And I'd present that information then, and then finalize our applications in October, ahead of the end of October deadline.
I have to confess that I read your report wrong, and I thought we had to choose between these two projects, but it looks like we can go ahead with both of them.
Yeah.
Would it be your impression that if we applied for both streams, that it would have an impact on our level of success? Or they're totally separate?
So we attended an information session, and they indicated that you can apply for both streams, and there was no indication that one would affect the other.
Okay, Counselor Barry, and then Deputy Mayor Dayu.
Question about the pickleball. So are you asking for a whole new court? So the existing court would then return, would it continue to be a pickleball or it would be, you know, skating and also basketball and that type of thing? And if so, if it's a new court, where would that be located? And does this affect Dorset as well? Because the Dorset Palace is recommended. I'm not clear on how many pickleballs we're gonna have.
Sure, and through you, Mayor, the multi-purpose court would be intended to stay at Stanhope. I'd intend to put an all-new separate court, so additional court, which would have 4 pickleball courts in it, probably right behind the existing tennis court. There's enough use on the multi-purpose court and enough demand that the people would play pickleball, I think, all day, every day, if they could. At a certain point, because it's a multi-purpose court, we explain that we need to make it available for unstructured usage, you know, the basketball and everything else that happens in there. So it would be freeing that space up, while at the same time providing increased opportunity for all our users for pickleball. The reason I mentioned the Dorset Ice Palace, and sorry for the confusion with that, is not that we'd add one there, but in consideration of what we were thinking about when we were thinking about the various locations and the possibilities, understanding that there is the multi-purpose court now down here with pickleball courts on it, and there's not an outdoor court in Dorset. So the question could be, why not put it in that location? And the answer would be that, as council's aware, previous discussions had looked at future opportunities to improve the park space at the Dorset Lions Park and at the Dorset Ice Palace, where opportunity exists to add a pad there or change it to some degree and add that at that time. So that'd be part of a future project that I'd look to include in our parks master plans. We develop that.
Deputy Mayor Dayu.
Very exciting. 2 questions. One, given the sheer amount of money possible with the second stream, have you considered proposing, we want to make pickleball available throughout the township? We're proposing 3 new build pickleball courts, 1 in each location, because there's so much potential money there that I wonder if that could be considered as a sole project rather than as 3 separate ones. And then I've got a second.
If council wanted to go that direction, I would ask that question specifically to our grant administrator on whether or not it would be seen as 3 separate projects or 1. Yeah.
Second question. Oh, sorry. Well, we'll stay with. Okay,
Sorry,
The third one being where?
Oxtown.
Okay,
because there's a huge love of it in Oxtown, and everyone in Oxtown goes to Dwight, which is close enough, but you know.
not in Algonquin Highlands.
It's not in Algonquin Highlands, and if we can, you know, create more within our township, that would be great. And the second question actually does have to do with the Dorset Ice Palace. Did you consider, for stream 1, a complete redo of the Dorset Ice Palace, including potentially putting in a court in there, but certainly creating facilities that we could offer ice skating much more often than we are currently able to due to weather conditions, etc. Was that on the cards? And if yes, what was your evaluatory decision about to go to the AC?
We did talk about that specifically, and the reason being is that we don't feel that we could pull together an application that's strong in the timeline needed, and the reason for that is you do require design plans, certainly to support your application. And that would be a large enough project that if we wanted to go that direction, I think we need to immediately engage a consultant, look at spending money with them to develop those design plans within a few weeks. So we need to actually finalize and agree on design plans for an entirely revamped structure or system there. Spend the money on that, which I'd have to get quotes on, and then pull that together for the end of the month application. Whereas the sentiment is that it's a large enough project with enough costs associated with it that to do that slowly with potentially some public input opportunities if council wanted to do that, because it is a very large project when you're looking at what the community was suggesting at the time and what some opportunities are at that location. Yes, there's opportunities for a pad, but when we looked at cost estimates at that time for a pad, it's of the level that you're going to be spending enough that it's worth looking at the entire big picture there. And it may not just be a simple concrete pad inside the boards there, but you're getting into the realm of expense there that options would include a complete revamp of that space. And I think there's a lot of great opportunity there. And I would hate to rush into a design just in a few weeks with it. Yeah.
Any other questions on what's being recommended? Councillor Barry?
Pretty sure that the mayor and I were talking about the air conditioning at the rec center. And in the application, would you be sort of leveraging that it could be a cooling center in the application? Like.
Yes, and through you, Mayor, thank you. And thanks for bringing that up. We have found that opportunity as well as we've reviewed that possibility. And certainly the province has identified a need for cooling centers. And this would also meet that need in addition. So for anybody who may not be aware, or any of the viewers who are listening, cooling centers are opportunities for people during hot days to just come inside and get cool as ambient temperatures throughout the summer increase and people may not have access to air conditioning. It would provide that opportunity. And the province has identified that as a need, and we all feel that is a plus in our application. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. I know that's one of the things that, this past summer, Dr. Hay was in fairly constant contact with me asking if we were setting up cooling centers. And I think that the air conditioning in the Dorset Center would go a long way to support that application. I really do like the idea of us finally completing the work that we had originally hoped to do at the rec center. And it was evident when we had our opening day that air conditioning would have been nice. So any other comments or questions about what's being proposed? Deputy Mayor Dayu.
Just because it's the moment to toss questions and ideas out there, I'm wondering about the old Public Works garage right beside the Dorset Rec Center. And whether there's an opportunity to bring in a bit of fun, like I don't even know where I'm taking the idea, but is there any opportunity to put a package together that would include even some basic changes to that to make it more of a useful space for township staff?
I would think that we'd need a little bit more time to think about what we really want to do there and what other needs there are there as well. That's where you have to get into a lot of discussion, consultants, a lot more work involved. Angie?
Yes, thank you. And I think we have to go back to the focus of the funding, which would be to increase sport. And I'm not sure how we would tie that together. I think we'd need a bit more time if we're going to do something like that. And potentially there might be another funding stream come along for that purpose.
Any other comments or questions? Could I have a mover and a seconder then to receive the report and recommend approval of the what's being suggested? Deputy Mayor Dayu, Councillor Shortreed.
By Deputy Mayor Dayu, seconded by Councillor Shortreed. Be it resolved, council receives Park Recreation Trails Report, PRT 2124, regarding community sport and recreation infrastructure fund grant for information, and council directs staff to proceed with the preparation of an application under Stream 1 Repair and Rehabilitation for the addition of air conditioning and more efficient heating option at the Dorset Recreation Center, and further council directs staff to proceed with the preparation of an application under Stream 2 New Build Signature New Builds for the construction of a dedicated outdoor pickleball court at the Stanhope Courts.
All in favor? That's carried. So finally, your report on the county map sign project.
Yeah, this is a great initiative that the county reached out to us on. They've been successful in obtaining funding through the Rural Economic Development Program for the installation of what they call Explore My Halliburton Highlands signs throughout the county. There's funding for 4 of them, one within each municipality. And the manager of tourism there reached out to us with the suggestion of the Dorset Scenic Lookout Tower as the installation location, which I believe is a great location for it, given the use that's there and the demographics of people visiting that site. If approved, I would work with them to decide on a specific location on site. There would be no cost to us. There'd be no maintenance costs in the future, nor any replacement value costs. These maps, and I included a photo of one that is on the rail trail just outside of Kinmount, are similar to the information maps that are provided as a brochure, and they highlight all of the tourism assets throughout the county, including all of our own, such as the hiking trails, log chute, all of our tourism related assets, as well as those throughout the county. It links people to the My Halliburton Highlands website, where of course all of that information is listed as well. And the intent and goal is to just get those visitors more information, move them to areas throughout the county, and continue to benefit the tourism throughout our county. Certainly at the Dorset Tower, we already get a lot of questions about things to do throughout the area, and we always direct people as much as possible towards things within our area, and this will help to increase that. So the county's asked to look for approval to move ahead with this, and it would be before the end of the year install.
Any questions? Could I have a mover and a seconder then to approve the recommendation for the sign project? Deputy Mayor Dayu, Councillor Barry.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Dayu, seconded by Councillor Barry. Be it resolved, council receives Park Recreation and Trails Report, PRT 2224, regarding county map sign project for information, and council directs staff to proceed with the installation of the signage at the Dorset Scenic Lookout Tower.
All in favor? That's carried. Well, thank you, sir. Lots of exciting things going on.
Certainly are. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Next up is environmental business. Good morning.
Morning. Thank you, Mayor and Council.
So we have your environmental monthly activity report. Anything you would like to highlight for us?
Just, we did have a household hazardous waste event at Oxton on August 24th. We had 36 vehicles participate, which was up a little bit from previous. So my thanks. I know the attendant at that site has done a lot of promotion and has really tried to encourage people to get to that site, as well as the folks in Dorset to get that event utilized a bit more. So that's nice to see. We did launch the household hazardous waste survey as well in conjunction with that event. So participants at both that event and the Dorset event were given the opportunity to complete that survey, as well as, you know, anybody online can link in and complete that survey. I think Chad mentioned there's been about 75 surveys completed to date, which is it's great to have that feedback. So we appreciate that. And upcoming event, the last event of the season will be August 12th at the Maple Lake site from 10 to 2. So that's the last event in the county. So
Not August the 12th.
oh, October.
Okay.
My apologies. Sorry. I'm reading August and thinking October. That's Thanksgiving weekend, so the Saturday of that weekend. So if anybody's doing their last minute cleanup, that's last chance to get materials in this year.
Any questions for Melissa? Counselor Barry?
Can we have Chad possibly market that? Like, I'm sure he already would, but like as a last chance, like, just final push. I'm sure that's already happening. Want to confirm that.
Yeah, thanks for that suggestion. Deputy Mayor Dayu?
Just to say thanks, and I really look forward to hearing the outcome of that survey. I know the Environment and Stewardship Committee sat with Melissa and we worked together to figure out how can we shift the survey to try to capture the sort of data that will help council make a good decision about whether to eliminate a hazardous waste day because of the cost, etc. So all of this is coming back as from council's original conversation last fall about our desire to optimize our hazardous waste events. So this is good. This is a good coming full circle of that conversation. So I look forward to the results of that.
Thank you. So could I have a mover and a seconder to receive the Environmental Services Activity Report? Counselor Richards, Counselor Shortreed.
By Counselor Richards, second by Counselor Shortreed, be resolved, council receives environmental report EB 2624 regarding August monthly activities for information.
All in favor? That's carried. Thanks, Melissa.
Thank you.
Next up, Public Works. Morning, Mr. Thorne.
Good morning, everyone.
So first is your monthly activity report. Any
Yes, thank you.
highlights, exciting things you want to tell us?
All kinds of exciting things. We're always busy. Just like every other department, we get through the summer season, and this would have been the last month of the summer, so it was very busy for us. I guess a couple key items that really come forward to me are the kickoff meeting for the Public Works Garage. So the CAO and myself met with the contractor, and we went over our kickoff meeting to just discuss the getting started. They have since been moved into the lower pit where the garage is being built, and they started the foundation excavation this week, so that's pretty exciting. In addition to that, our staff have been working really hard at cleaning out the old garage and cleaning up the area and getting it all ready for the renovation that's going on there as well. We did have our office trailer delivered, which will hold myself, the admin assistant, and the road staff that we're working out of the current garage that's there. So that's been really great. Things have been moving along really well with that so far. At the airport, we're just getting ready again for the next fly-in. So committee meetings, going through the fall fly-in and looking at getting more people to show up to the event, getting more vendors and food trucks and things of that nature. So it's turning out to be looking like it could be a potential another really good day for us. So that's exciting to see. Fuel sales, you can see fuel sales were down from last year in 100 LL, but the jet has definitely gone up, which is good to see. Other than that, everything else has been going really well. Our capital road projects for this year were delayed because of the road construction we were doing on McPhail Road. So it took us a little longer to get that set up. So our surface treatment was pushed to be we were the last ones to go for it this year, which typically were the first ones, which is still fine. The weather's holding out for us, which has been really good. So that's going to be started here very shortly. But all the road construction prior to the contractor coming in has been completed. So that was a lot of work on our staff to get that done in a good time. And as you know, the installation of the speed signs. So we started that in August as well, and well, you'll see the data from that coming up here. And then just regular maintenance and work as usual. In the cemeteries, I would like to add that we did install the fence around the Maple Lake Cemetery.
It looks fabulous.
Yeah, it looks really good, and our CIO picked the color for it. Not that there was many choices, but I got to give that to her. She did pick the color for it, and it looks great.
It does
So,
look good.
but yeah, it's very clean. It's commercial grade, so they did a really good job installing it. So, yeah, and I think that's pretty much it for me. Unless you have questions.
I think we have a new airport coordinator.
Yes, we do. Through you, Mayor. Yes, we do. She started on Monday. Kaylee is her name. So far, everything for the first day has been great. She's very excited. It was one of those kind of had to hold her down because she had lots of great ideas and things she wants to bring forward. So, which is awesome. So it's going to be, I'm really hopeful that we'll have a great working relationship and she'll bring a lot of great ideas to the airport. So looking forward to bringing those forward.
So is there going to be a little bit of an overlap with you working out of the airport for a little while before you move over to the trailer?
That's correct, yeah. So Melanie, our Public Works Admin Assistant, she'll be moving over on Tuesday and I will be moving over on Tuesday as well. But I will stay and continue working with Kaylee for half days at the airport for the next couple of weeks.
Questions, Councillor Barry?
Will she be appointed to the airport committee?
Well, she's automatically
Yeah,
as staff.
okay. I didn't wonder, I didn't know if we had to officially do that. I know there's a meeting coming up. That's just a roll.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Any questions on the monthly activity report? Could I have a mover and a seconder to receive it then? Deputy Mayor Dayu, Councillor Richards.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Dayu, second by Councillor Richards. Be it resolved, Council receives Public Works Report BW 2924 regarding August monthly activities for information.
All in favor? That's carried. Next is your bridge and large culvert inspection report.
Yes, through you, Mayor. As it says in the report here in the background, this is the third year for us doing this. We do them every other year, and we joined in on the county for the last project for this inspection. So I can assume that we'll be doing that again, looking to speak with the county and go back out for another multi-year project. But as you can see through the report that overall, all the bridges are in good condition. Through the comments, they do make some remarks regarding some things to keep an eye on and watch for that are coming up in the next few years. So we'll continue monitoring that. And yeah, it looks like we have quite a few years left in our bridges.
Well, it's great to see that it's such a good report and that things are in reasonably good condition. Any questions on that report? Deputy Mayor Dayu?
Thanks, Adam. And it's something that we did touch upon the last time we brought this kind of report forward, but I'd like to touch upon it again. And that's with replacement values, which are eye-boggling. The replacement value, is it something that is determined as to replace the bridge as it currently is constructed? In the future, it would cost this amount, or is the replacement value to replace the current bridge with a bridge of perhaps better technology using fewer materials? Because, I look at the Bear Lake Road Bridge replacement value, 1.7 million. Wow. But it is from a layperson's perspective, perhaps an oversized bridge. There's a lot of bridge there. And I don't know if beyond the logging trucks that go through once every number of years, whether we would ever really need that hefty a bridge in that location. So is that, so how does this number reflect what the new bridge would ultimately look like or could ultimately look like? Is it as is, or is it what it might be?
Yes, thank you. Through you, Mayor. So this would be a replacement of like for like.
Right.
So again, anytime we do look at a large infrastructure and asset piece, we would look at what its current needs are, our future needs of it, and then we would assess from there. So if for some reason the bridge failed tomorrow, then we would do that assessment. And then we would go forward from there through council's direction, whether or not we replaced it like for like, or we downsized it or upsized it. That's just part of the process and the conversations that we would be having here. Yep.
Go ahead.
So then, as these bridges sort of come online for potential replacement, does that conversation happen with enough leeway that we can start putting money into reserves for them? Or are these already built into reserve acquisition?
So I would have to talk with the finance. I want to say, I think in 2022, we came forward with the idea of starting a reserve for bridges because of the cost of them. And I can't recall the conversation back then. I look to you, Angie, if you can recall that or not, but at the time, I do believe that it was not recommended that we start a bridge reserve at that time, just because if something was to happen to a bridge, we would do whatever we need to do to replace it. If it was a failure due to an emergency or a flood or damage or things of that nature. But no, we did not start a reserve for it yet. I mean, it's something I can look into and bring back at budget time, but it's one of those, there were so many years left in it that we hadn't started looking at that further yet.
But I would have to say that given the cost of the replacement of some of them, that it might be an idea for us to at least consider that, you know, when we're having budget discussions. Any other comments or questions about the bridge culvert inspection report? Hearing none, could I have a mover and a seconder then to receive it? Councillor Short-Reed, Councillor Richards.
Moved by Councillor Short-Reed, second by Councillor Richards. Be it resolved, council receives Public Works Report PW 3024 regarding 2024 bridge large culvert inspection results for information.
All in favor? That's carried. And finally, for you, the electronic speed sign data update. Interesting information.
Yes, thank you, through Mayor. I do want to apologize. This is a lot of data. I tried writing it quite a few different ways, and it all had to be in here for, I think, to kind of walk through it. I think some of the key points here to note are the speeds for sure. I think realistically too, when we look at our speed data that's shown here, is everything that's highlighted is under the speed limit. So anything, you know, that could be one car doing 50, that could be 50 cars doing 49. It also goes the other way too. It doesn't identify, you know, we would have to go through number by number every time a car goes through to say exactly how many cars were doing 52 kilometers versus doing 60. So what you can see in the highlighted areas of every stretch of each road that we took analysis on is anywhere the speed sign was facing traffic that they could see they could see what their speed would do. The traffic could see what their speed was. It's clear to see that their speeds were low. In most cases, you know, I have 89% on St. Peter's, we're doing under the posted speed limit. Looking at North Shore Road, because that's that's kind of where all this got started. 39%, 52% were doing under the speed limit when it was in stealth mode. But on the flip side, on the back side of that sign where it doesn't show speed, but the sign was up, you know, they're doing 36%. We're doing under the speed limit. So the hard part here is that 63% of cars were going over the speed limit. And when you look at the data on number one, the speed from 51 kilometers to 60 kilometers, there's 1,000 cars that were doing, you know, over the speed limit, potentially doing 10 over. So, you know, were they doing 52 kilometers? Were they doing 59 kilometers? So relatively speaking, when you go down the road, you know, hopefully everybody's abiding by the speeds of the road. Some of it is showing the cars are speeding, but then once the sign is in place and in other locations, the speed is, you know, people are doing under the speed limit. So I think that's a really good definition that people are abiding by the rules, but there are those that are not. North Shore Road's it's a hard one because if the signs were up for an entire summer, we'd be able to see if the sign has effect over the course of 2 or 3 months? Or do people just get complacent with it like every other sign that's out there? They see them and then they forget about them and then they're not worried about it. I think another really good item to note here is because this has been brought up numerous times about the traffic that goes down North Shore Road. Now, when Melissa and I were working on the Maple Lake landfill, we knew traffic was going to be more. We did calculations of how much traffic went to Hawk Lake, you know, where they were going to be going, whether it was Pine Springs or Maple Lake landfill. And we were always hoping they'd go to Maple Lake landfill because that's why we were designing this new landfill site, right? So in a 2-week in a 2-week span, you can see that data is shown there as well. It's really inconsistent. It's really hard to say whether cars were going to Maple Lake landfill or were they just cutting through? Was it a busy day? We don't have that data to show how many cars actually went on to McPhail Road that day. But it's clear to see that there are, you know, anywhere between 318 cars all the way up to 718 cars on any given day going through there. It's a lot of traffic. Another question or another comment that was brought up in previous meetings was that the increased traffic due to Maple Lake landfill taking on more people and, you know, COVID and things of that nature. I thought it was really important, and I found this information in our files that show in 2016, basically a month later in 2016, which I would like to say would be like after the summer traffic, you know, our more of our regular traffic in September. There was 718 cars. There was 899 cars went down North Shore Road on one day. That's more than I was able to track in a 2-week period in the summertime in 2024. So I think it's really important to understand that we can't just say there's more traffic. We can't just run around saying there's more traffic on North Shore Road because Maple Lake landfill. Not saying that there isn't days where there's traffic because of it, but I think it's really important to understand this data shows that on average, there was more traffic in 2016 on North Shore Road in those timeframes than in 2024 in our busiest summer season.
Interesting.
So it doesn't, I'm bringing this up just only because I think it's important for everyone here and anyone watching to understand we just can't say there's more traffic without properly pulling data. And this data shows that pre-COVID, there was more traffic. I think that's important. So like I said, in my closing here, that the data shows the majority of the traffic is going under the speed limit. But there are still some problems
Speeders.
that we are recognizing that increased traffic, you know, whether they're doing the speed limit or not. And it's hard if you're standing on the side of the road, you think someone's doing 80 and they're only doing 45. I've got 3 people that have come forward now to say they were waved at to slow down and they were all doing under the speed limit. So it's unfair, you know, to be harassing drivers on the road because you don't know what their speed is. It looks like they're going fast, but maybe they're not. So I just think it's really important that we understand that this is the data that helps us make those decisions, not our opinions just because. From there, I mean, I gladly take any questions, comments, direction on how we move forward, or if you were looking for something going forward.
I found it interesting that in some cases that when the signs were in display mode, there was a little bit more speeding than when it wasn't. I mean, that's just it. There's in some ways no rhyme or reason to this. To me, these numbers do not indicate that we have a serious speeding problem on North Shore Road. I mean, there is some speeding, there's no question about it, but you know, to the extent that the people feel that there is, I'm not sure that these numbers really indicate that. Comments, questions, Deputy Mayor Dayu?
It is really helpful information and very much to that point, if we did put a community safety zone in place, it looks like even if the OPP were present, they wouldn't catch as many people as I think people are hoping they would in order to implement those doubled fines, et cetera, because they're not actually speeding as much as you say, as is perceived. And we all have had that sensation of someone being on a narrow road, we're on the side of it, we're on our feet, and someone rushes past us. And in fact, they're probably only doing 40 or so. And so there is that perception. I think for me then, moving forward, my key question would be those pinch places on North Shore Road that you're aware of and that the people who have come and given us the delegations are also aware of, where, you know, when someone comes by, we have to jump into the ditch, or wherever those pinch positions are, what the overlay of this data is at those places, if they overlap, and what we might do in those places in order to control folks from speeding even further, or bring it down. If they're going 40, maybe they need to go 30, but just in that one little pinch position, so that the perception of safety is higher, and the actual safety is higher, and people aren't jumping into ditches.
The problem is twofold too. I mean, it's not just the vehicles. There's a problem with how pedestrians and cyclists use that road. And I travel that road an awful lot, and I've never seen anybody have to jump into the ditch. But, you know, I know that there have been some circumstances where I think that was reported that that's happened. But before we go any further, because you've referenced the OPP in a community safety zone, I think Angie's got something she'd like to report.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I did have the opportunity, the clerk and I met last week with our new detachment commander and discussed this very issue. And I brought up the need or the request of the community to reduce the speed and have a possible community safety zone. And before I could get the words out of my mouth, he said, that's a bad idea. He said, community safety zones are for very specific areas, not for, you know, entire lengths of road. And he did say that it gives the public a false sense of security if you do that, where you reduce the speed and there's an expectation that if someone's speeding, that a police officer is going to be there. And that's just not going to be the case. They don't have the staffing for that. So I wouldn't want council to reduce the speed or implement a community safety zone without knowing that. Like that's a very real reality that's not going to happen.
Councillor Barry?
Thanks for the report. It was a good report. Nice to see some numbers and that. I do support a report coming back with possible potential mitigation for calming areas, or recognizing tight areas where maybe there could be brush cut back, or other forms of maybe signage, like slow, caution, those kind of things. Like there's tons of different signs we could put up. But I do look forward to a report that could address another way than a community safety.
Well, I know that you had made a comment when one of the examples of a difficult area is the distance between the parking zone and the access to the lookout, that, you know, we could maybe look at alternatives there and see if there's something that we can do to reduce concerns in that area. So I'm sure, I know that that's one of the recommendations that you've made in your report, is that you can take a further look at mitigation in areas that have been listed as concerns, or you see as concerns, and I would look forward to seeing that. Other comments or questions or concerns? Councillor Richards.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. If we can look at, I know we're looking at fixing the road from St. Peter's to the airport. And if we could look at extending the shoulders a bit to allow for more walking room on the shoulders, making people feel safer in those areas. Some of those bends that are very blinding, that we can, you know, cut back to some extent where we're able. I know that there's some properties there that are a challenge with us doing that. But anything we can do to share the road between pedestrians and vehicles. I think is where we need to go.
Any other comments or questions? Counselor, I'm sorry, Deputy Mayor Dayu.
And follow up to Councillor Richards, is there the possibility of eking out like a shared pedestrian / cycling zone at the side of the road in some places that just makes people aware that you can't walk in the middle of the road? This is the place that we're offering for you to safely walk, or are we just not a big enough, do we not just have a big enough road for those sorts of inclusions?
Go ahead.
Through you, Mayor. So essentially, if we were to add anything and identify it as a walking or bike, we would have to identify it as a lane, as a bike lane, as a sidewalk, and we would have to maintain it as such, and we would have to identify that. So that changes everything on our road. Even to go as far as to say that we're putting down and we're widening the road. So it's kind of twofold. There is a section, let me start again. We have to have a metrics that allows us to extend the shoulder in certain areas to allow people to walk on. And we would have to identify that because it's our property and we're trying to shuffle people to another property. So case in point would be the Lookout parking lot, trying to get to the Lookout. And that was one of the concerns that were brought up. Now, aside from the slight corner right at the parking lot, it is roughly a straight stretch there. So there is good visibility. We can take a look at what property we own and maybe we can extend the shoulder, not as an identified bike lane or a walking lane. We'll just make the shoulder wider so that people will walk on the shoulder versus walking on the road. And we wouldn't be able to identify saying you shall walk on the pathway, because then again, that changes our road and our dynamic of the road and what we have to do to maintain it. So we could look at something like that for that area. In other areas, when we do rebuild roads, we can start looking at widening the road. It wouldn't be widening the road for shoulder, it would be widening the road surface. And if people choose to walk on the edge of the road surface or ride their bike on it, then that's part of the road. But if you want to start looking at bike lanes and pathways, that's a whole new ball for us.
We might even have to get into, I hate to even use the expropriation word, because there's only so much room that we've got there.
Yeah, exactly. And these are roads, right? We want to encourage people to move and get out and not be bound to their homes. We want them to be able to walk around. We just have to be careful how we do that. Because like the mayor just said, if you want a bike lane, then they come with their limits of how wide they have to be, what they're made of, especially if we're identifying them.
And they are extraordinarily expensive to add to the construction of the road. Councillor Barry, then back to you.
What I don't support is a bike lane that starts and stops. Like if I'm
Bits and pieces of.
as a parent, I don't support my son going down to an area that's safer to then have to go to an area. Like I would rather just take them to like the rail trail or something and have not those concerns.
Good.
But even, an increased shoulder with a line, like a white line on the edge, gives the impression, well, hey, if I'm walking 4 feet beyond the line into the road, I know I'm walking on the road. And similarly, a car who is 3 feet over the line into the shoulder knows, hey, I'm on the shoulder now. I'm not actually on the road. So indeed, that sort of satisfies, if a line is possible, that kind of satisfies creating a distinct area while not calling it a lane and changing how we do everything on that road.
Certainly, and through you, Mayor, I mean, if council is directing me to look at line painting, then I can certainly look into that and bring it forward to the budget to have North Shore Road painted. Again, we have to look at, we would be painting a white line within inches of the shoulder. So on that section, I'm just trying to think of some of the road sections down through there, we would literally have 1.5 feet between the white line and then the slope of the ditch. So
Which isn't this, which wouldn't meet the standard for any kind of cycling path or.
And I don't think it would, I don't think it would serve the purpose that you're looking for to keep people on the right side of the white line. I understand what you're saying, and it does make sense when there's 4 feet of shoulder or 5 feet of shoulder. I certainly could see that. Especially for someone like myself who runs up 35, I totally get the line and staying on the shoulder. In a section of North Shore Road or any really municipal road like ours, where they're just wide enough for a road surface, it would be very difficult and could be not cost effective to paint a white line.
I think we need to keep in mind too that you know, we're meeting municipal standards that are set for municipal roads depending on the category of each road. But I think we'd need to, when budgeting for roads, we'd need to, you know, be fully aware of the additional costs that are associated with widening the road, with, you know, line painting, with those sorts of things, and maintaining that. Go ahead, Adam.
And you just brought up a really good point. Thank you. My brain is good. It's just full. I would say that when I move forward with road construction, when I'll bring a road, the capital projects forward at budget time, I will bring forward 2 plans. One will be what we currently would be replacing. And I can also bring a second one with that shows a wider road. So in a section where the shoulder is wide enough for us to clean the shoulder back and extend the road a 0.5 meter, because typically we run about 7 meters wide. If we could do an 8 meter wide road, then, but you have to understand that's a big increase over North Shore Road. If you added a whole extra meter to 5 kilometers, you know, at $15 a cubic meter, you can see how that would add up pretty quick. But I also think, sorry, yeah, you ask your question, then it'll come back to me.
Go ahead.
No, I absolutely respect that. And it's, I guess it's, for me, it's less a wider shoulder across all of North Shore. It's more about what can we do at those pinch spots where people feel unsafe, even if we met municipal standards, even if people are going more or less the speed limit. In those places where people feel unsafe, what might we do just there? And perhaps that is a more reasonable budgetary proposal to bring back at the right time.
Through you, Mayor. So something like signage would be a good one in some of those tight corners. We could add signage to show that, like a warning sign, very similar to what's on St. Peter's Road in the tight S corners. There is the reduced speed for the corner. It's a yellow warning sign, so it's only a warning. It's not a regulatory speed limit reduce. So we could add something along those lines. And then even look at maybe flashing lights on some of our speed signs in the area. It'd just be a yellow beacon on top that runs solar panel, and then, you know, just as a reminder, would be a recommendation. What I wanted to come back to was level of service that you brought up, Mayor, was that we have to be careful with our levels of service. Most of our roads sit at a 4 and a 5. We start reducing speeds and looking at our traffic counts on the roads. If you were to reduce, just as an example, if we drop North Shore Road to a 40 with the current cars that are going up and down it, it could drop it down to class 6. And at a class 6, well, then we would have to start looking at that, because that's the same as our seasonal roads. So although we do above and beyond our minimum maintenance, that's the level of service that we have put together over the years, we do have to be careful dropping speeds, because that does change our level of service, or can change our level of service.
One other thing to consider is that I do know that when we've done construction or when we've done brushing in particular along North Shore Road, there have been complaints from property owners about encroachments or, you know, cutting down trees, and we start talking about widening the road. There are people who want the road to be wider, and there are people who do not. So, you know, that's a sort of, there's a lot to be considered. But, you know, I would look forward to hearing any mitigating factors that Adam can bring back to us for consideration when we're, you know, looking at doing particularly the remainder of North Shore Road.
Certainly.
Any other comments or questions on that? Could I then have a mover and a seconder to receive the report? Sorry, Councillor Richards, Deputy Mayor Dayu.
Moved by Counselor Richard, seconded by Deputy Mayor Jayu. Be resolved, council receives public works report PW 3124 regarding electronic speed sign data, update for information, and council direct staff bring back in the future report on potential options on North Shore Road.
All in favor? That's carried. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. Well, Chief, you're not in the sweet spot when it comes to our agenda, but we'll go forward with your report today before taking coffee.
Morning, Mayor and Council.
Good morning. So we have your monthly activity report. Anything that you would like to highlight for us?
Definitely. Back in August 21st, we hosted the Ontario Fire Marshal's Office to a presentation for all emergency responders from the county. Now, as a result of our incident in the spring, Comet Crescent. So the person that came to spoke, they talked about clandestine labs and throw offs and booby traps and everything else. What I really want you to highlight here is we had 95 emergency responders from the county come to the presentation. And it was a quality presentation. To see the volunteers stepping up to attend that was very impressive.
Could you explain booby traps?
Yeah, the different things for booby traps, for example, trip wires inside buildings. Oh, and things like that that they run into, and what they emphasized is all these types of situations take place in remote areas. Like this cottage where this all happened won't happen in downtown Barrie because it's too out in the public. So it's very common to happen in remote areas, which we dealt with. So it really made people aware. We had a lot of pictures and a lot of situations where they've investigated. And I know some of the comments from some of the chiefs after when we had our chiefs meeting was they're even seeing that firefighters being more aware when they enter a situation, even for medical calls of potential situations. I think it was very well received by everyone in the county.
Excellent, excellent news.
The other thing items I want to highlight here, they aren't directly related to the report. It's a couple actions that are going forward in the next month, just so council is aware. We are going to be partaking in the fly-in of a display there with the fire department for public education, along with providing scene safety there for the planes. On October 9th, the 3 fire halls are going to have an open house from 5 to 7 for part of Fire Prevention Week. One thing I'm very excited about is on November 1st, we're going to be having our annual staff appreciation awards night. It's going to take place at the Dorset Rec Center. We haven't had one since 2019. I encourage all councils to attend. Your invites I have here, and I'll hand them out when you're under.
I was going to say invitations would be nice.
Yes, they're all here and ready to go. It's a wonderful opportunity we have great volunteer firefighters here in the township. So it gets you a chance to meet firefighters. Along with that, they get to meet the counselors that support them so well over the years. So I think it's a great opportunity. So that will be handed out. And the last item I want to speak about is staffing. Again, in our report, we've taken 1 new firefighter on for this session for Station 80. We have 2 more going through the vulnerable sector checks and background that should hopefully be presented at the next council meeting. And over the next 60 days, we currently are expecting 4 of our firefighters who are on short-term medical leave at Station 80 to return. With them all back, we should be up to full staffing at Station 80 within the next 60 to 90 days, which that's a lot to do with Chad and his advertising that he put out on the radio, out on social media. And it's really worked out well. And they've all been quality applicants. The one's that's 24 years as a nurse. Is bringing that to it, so really supports a medical. Another's a fully certified firefighter, and it's really going to really enhance our services from Station.
Well, that's really good news. What about, how are we making out with the other stations?
They're all pretty well staffed, and Station 70 is staffed to a shoes level, but the demographics up there are so unusual. We do have 10 that are there all the time. But out of that 10, we normally average 7 of them showing up every call. So they got such loyalty to the volunteers. We do get a good turnout. That's nice to see.
Any questions for the chief? Hearing none, could I have a mover and a seconder then to receive the report? Councilors Barry and Richards.
Moved by Counselor Barry, second by Counselor Richards, be it resolved, council receives fire service report FY 1624 regarding August monthly activities for information, and the council hereby appoints Melissa Bacon firefighter at Station 8.
All in favor? That's carried. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And then we will take a 15-minute break. Okay, next on the agenda are finances. And first is the account summary. Is there any question from members of council on the account summary? Could I have a mover and a seconder then to receive them? Councillor Shortreed and Barry.
Moved by Council Shortreed, second by Council Barry. Be it resolved, council has reviewed the expenditures incurred as set out in the account summary report TT 2524 in the total amount of $1,376,565.98 and hereby approves payment as same.
All in favor? That's carried. Next item are the changes to the fees and charges bylaw, specifically with the relation to dog licensing and short-term rental licensing. Are there,
That's just in the bylaw section.
it's in the bylaw section. Are there any questions or concerns about that? Okay, hearing none, we'll see that under the bylaw section. Next, under administration business is the Stanhope Museum Committee update. Any comment from members? The one thing that I did want to ask about, I think there was something here about a discussion about artwork. On the outside of the museum building. Go ahead.
So the artwork being discussed is for the windows, that are right now, just the white with green painting. So, the committee is discussing, some type of artwork to make them look more than windows, like, still a window scene, but, something more inviting to people from the outside to want to go into the museum.
That's good. Yeah, hopefully they'll bring a recommendation to council on that. I know that I had a discussion with a couple of the committee members about, when the windows were closed in, it just doesn't look as inviting as it did before. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what they come back to us with. Any other comments on the museum minutes? I have a mover and a seconder then to receive them. I'm sorry, did you have a question or comment?
I was not at this meeting, but it did say here under other business that there was an inquiry about a plaque falling off of a memorial. And I just wondered if that has been an inquiry. I don't know where exactly this is, but.
It's at St. Peter's.
Okay.
Not St. Peter's, sorry, St. Stephen's.
It's been addressed, James. Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay, could I have a mover and a seconder then to receive the museum committee update? Councillor Richards, Councillor Shortreed.
Moved by Councillor Richards, second by Councillor Shortreed. Be resolved, council receives the August 19th, 2024 Stanhope Museum Committee meeting minutes for information, and further that council acknowledges with regret the resignation of Pamela Hewitt Osborne from the committee.
All in favor? That's carried. Under external boards, anything under the Dorset Partnership or Health Hub? Councillor Shortreed.
They've just been going back and forth trying to get a date set, which I think they finally did, but it's not till October. And one meeting's on the same time just after the other. We got them back to back.
Okay, well, we look forward to getting an update there.
Yep.
Anything on the Upper Trent Water Management?
Nothing for the Upper Trent Water Management. There's been no meetings and no meetings scheduled. But
Anything
they're
on,
definitely taking the water.
pardon me?
They're definitely taking the water.
Anything on Muskoka Watershed?
The next meeting is tomorrow.
Okay. On the OPP Detachment Board, I think that the coordinator for community safety and well-being is trying to get a meeting set up. We have finally received approval for the change in membership. At one point in time, the membership was to include a specific member of county council, and county council had asked that that become a member of the public, because there's already the 4 municipalities represented. We thought it'd be better to have another public member, so that was approved, and we are going to be doing interviews on interested parties from the public who want to be on the detachment board. We have, I think maybe I mentioned at our last meeting that we have a new interim detachment commander who, from the sounds of things, sounds like a really excellent person to work with, has been here before, has experience here, and hopefully would like to stay here for a while, and that would be good. Have some continuity. Otherwise, nothing more on the detachment board. I do look forward to whenever we have our first meeting, because it's been a long time coming. I think that we may have to change our agenda to remove me from reporting on EORN. Okay. Anything on the library board?
Books are in place
Ooh.
in Dorset. I don't know if they're all on the shelves, but the collection has been received, and it is confirmed that the soft launch will be October 11th, and the grand opening is set for Friday, October 25th. So that's very, very good news.
Look forward to that. Anything on Muskoka River Watershed Communications Committee?
We had our first meeting in quite some time, 2 days ago. I haven't received the slide deck from that, but I will pass it along to everyone here as soon as that comes in. All is well, slightly higher precipitation this summer, as a lot of people have noticed. But too early to predict this fall, the spring freshet, that's for sure.
Thank you. I'm not sure if there's anything that we want to bring up under county council update. The one thing that comes to my mind is that we as a county council had asked for a report to be prepared on waste management countywide, specifically on incineration and alternatives to incineration. Since discussions about incineration have taken place, there have been some meetings between myself and the CAO at the county, members of Dysart Council, and representatives from Peterborough County. Peterborough County are very interested in setting up their own incineration, not the county itself, but working with a proponent to set up an incinerator in Peterborough County. They are going to be approaching members of the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus to see if there are, because of course, in order for an incinerator to be successful, they need a minimum amount of tonnage. And they are going to be approaching other surrounding counties to see, if they're interested in participating and partnering in that particular project. So there's an awful lot of work to be done there. Of course, there needs to be an environmental assessment and all kinds of work, but it sounds like, any pressure that there may have been for there to be an incinerator in Haliburton County is now much diminished. Go ahead.
Madam Mayor, what are your thoughts on whether those conversations would proceed at a county level or go down to lower tier? Because as we all know, Dysart's needs are very different from Algonquin Highlands needs and interests.
Well, it's my impression, and I mean, we're a long way from going that far. It would have to come down to the lower tier because waste management is managed at the lower tier. I think what they're looking for is tonnage at the moment, so that they're kind of get an idea, what would be coming from where. But to me, as you said, Dysart is in a much greater need, and I personally, I don't see us making a decision to participate for some time to come. We're in really good shape here, but it's that's a conversation. It's a long way down the road, but would be the decision of the lower tier. Anything else that comes to mind with respect to county council? Any questions about county council? Okay, nothing under general business. Are there any notice of motions? Notices of motion? Okay, hearing none. Under correspondence, was there any support for correspondence? I would comment that the correspondence with respect to the Ontario Ombudsman and the suggestion that there should be greater detail and information. I would also say that that might be the case with respect to our what's the other guy? The Integrity Commissioner. I thought that the report that we received from the Integrity Commissioner was rather slim and gave us really no indication of the type of concerns or any information at all. Do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, actually, Ken, I did reach out to our integrity commissioner when I received that report to ask if there could be a little more detail, like around, with anonymous, of course. A little bit more detail, and our integrity commissioner responded with that. That is as much detail in order to protect confidentiality and the requests made. So I did reach out, but I would be more than happy to have a discussion with them going further on reports. Council
Okay,
wished.
yeah, I'd like to see that. Okay, that moves us into, there's no closed session. Oh, sorry, could I have a mover and a seconder to accept the correspondence? Councilors Richards and Barry.
Moved by Councilor Richards, second by Councilor Barry. Be it resolved, Council receives the September 19th, 2024 correspondence listing for information.
All in favor? That's carried. So as I said, no closed session. So could I have a mover and a seconder to approve the bylaws? Councilors Richards and Shortreed.
Moved by Councilor Richards, second by Councilor Shortreed. Be it resolved that the following bylaws be received and read a first time, considered read a second and third time, and finally passed with a corporate seal affixed. Bylaw 2024-89 to authorize the execution of a subdivision agreement, Craig Bishop Surveying and Consulting Limited, and bylaw 2024-90 to amend the comprehensive fees and charges bylaw.
All in favor? That's carried. And could I have a mover and a seconder for the confirmatory bylaw? Deputy Mayor Dayu, Councilor Richards.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Dayu, seconded by Councilor Richards. Be it resolved that bylaw 2024-91 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council held during its regular meeting be received and read a first time, considered read a second and third time, and finally passed with a corporate seal affixed.
All in favor? And finally, a motion to adjourn. Councilor Barry, Councilor Shortreed.
Moved by Councilor Barry, seconded by Councilor Shortreed. Be it resolved the regular meeting adjourn at 10:51 a.m.
All in favor? That's carried.